Welcome to the Occult Rejects. We are two former secret society members who were determined to show the public the truth that occultism has been purposely
fancy. Exquisite. Duh. Lavish. Luxurious. Extravagance. Gance. Welcome to Wine Time, a new series for the Occult Rejects. We will be covering the finer things in life. Many of you out there have said that we are way too uncultured, that we're too loud, too unrefined, too crass, and that we curse way too fucking much. And this new series is meant to prove the haters wrong. In fact, we are very cultured gentlemen, and today we will be attending a high-end wine tasting tour at the Renaissance Winery in California. We will be taking part in many wines, like Merlots and Sauvignon Blancs, maybe even a Pinot Gris. So sit back and relax, and welcome to Wine Time. Welcome to Wine Time, guys. New segment that we have for the show, and we are tasting some fine wines today.
Yes, the Fellowship of Friends wine.
That's right.
Yes, I heard. Well, you know, even coming in here, I mean, you even mentioned before, you saw a lot of guys with Google T-shirts on, right?
Yeah, what's up with all the guys running around here with Google shirts?
But I've heard that Google does pay top shelf price for this wine.
That's true. That's true. Some of the best in the world, apparently.
That's what they say. I mean, I don't know.
So what is this? What kind of wine is this?
I gotta stick out my finger.
Oh, yeah. Take a little sip myself.
What is this shit?
Fucking hell!
What is this fucking? This is fucking Kool-Aid with fucking bleach in it. Fucking kind of crap is this? Google buys this shit?
Boo.
Yo, what the fuck? Yo, I gotta go wash my fucking mouth out with that crap. I'll tell you one thing. The only good thing about this fucking place is the fucking food. The wine fucking sucks. I'll tell you that already.
Yeah, that deli's pretty solid, but I'm about to be sick from that wine.
Yo, that wine is probably worse than that fucking weird guy with the polka dot pants on, fucking chasing us around before with the fucking hot dogs in his mouth.
He's been watching you this entire time we've been here, man. I'm starting to get uncomfortable. I don't know why, but he's been staring at you. I haven't said too much about it because I'm a little weirded out, man. But
yeah, at first I thought it was kind of, you know. Oh, fuck.
Oh shit!
Fuck, there he is. The creep.
Do not look behind you.
He's there, isn't he? Right behind me.
He's right behind you.
Is he dressed?
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Occult Rejects with your hosts Lux
and the NY Patriot.
And I got to tell you guys, we gave a shot at the the new series wine tasting, but we're gonna have to stop that because we had a really bad experience with the first one. I don't think we should keep going with that series, man.
Between the wine, Mr. Polka Dot Pants, and place looking like fucking M. Night Shyamalan's The Village, I'm good.
We barely made it out of there, man.
Yeah. My anal virginity almost made it out of there. Almost didn't make it out of there.
Yeah.
A fucking creep standing right behind me.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, if you were hoping to see more of our fine wine tasting, that's the last episode.
One and done.
Yeah.
One and done.
So, yeah, welcome back to the Occult Rejects, guys. This is the last episode that we have for the Fellowship of Friends series that we've been doing. And, yeah, got some cool stuff, information to let everybody see and kind of tie up any loose ends that we had in the series and last of the most important of subject matter that we wanted to talk about. So,
yeah, got some. Still got some good gems for this episode too, I think.
Definitely, for sure.
Oh yeah. There's actually we'll see some reoccurring names that we've talked about before, and a couple other interesting things. So you want me to just get started now with my stuff? I guess.
Sure.
All right. So we got the. I had mentioned in the last episode about the Apollo Arts, and how I did want to cover that place a little bit. Actually, didn't have as much as I have now. I decided since then, I was like, oh, let me go back. I'm sure there's a little bit more I could find. So here we go. We have the Apollo Arts. It is considered a non-for-profit. It's got arts, culture, and humanities, performing arts organizations, theaters, charities. It's arts, cultural, and humanities. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Our mission is to present the finest works of the classical repertoire in opera, music, theater, and dance to audiences in the Sierra foothills of Northern California. We produce 18 musical concerts for a total of 1,692 attendees. Concerts include art and blah, blah, blah. Then right here, it says also known as Friends of Goethe Academy, or Goethe Academy. Whatever the fuck you say that. So it's like, fuck, just even from the Apollo Arts looking that up, it's like showing that linked to the Goethe thing again. I was like, what the fuck? So that's definitely like, I don't think we were wrong in the last one when I brought that up. They obviously are connected with that.
No, and that definitely, again, without being 100% certain, but I swear that we've covered Apollo Arts before on a different series, with it being connected to Goethe. So, yeah, you're not wrong about that one.
Program areas at Apollo, they say music. Apollo Arts produced a New Year's Eve ball with classical music and period dance entertainment. During the year we produced, February 2019, Laura Suran piano recital. March 2019, Paulette and Polera recital. This stuff lists off a bunch of recitals that they've done. If you want to check it out, you can look at it. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It shows the 990s for Apollo Arts. It shows here in the address, Oregon House, California. Metro area, Yuba City, California. All the same shit that I've showed before with other stuff. Oregon House. This is an Oregon House, the Fellowship of Friends. Here, total revenues. They have taken in 2018, 193,000, and then 2019, 230,000. So they are making an incline on how much they're making. Their total assets in 2019 was 90,000. And then down here, again, personnel at Apollo Arts. Here is that Alexander Shalapanov that I mentioned earlier in the last episode, that he was associated with, I think, the Fellowship of Friends. Remember, he was the guy in Russia?
Mm-hmm.
Again, associated with Apollo Arts now. I find that very interesting, especially when we had those samples from people talking about the place, saying that they had people coming over from Europe, basically to get a green card and sleeping with this guy.
Yeah, and they're at one point their membership was really going downhill. Like, they were not recruiting tons of new people in the U.S., so they went over to the Russia and other European areas to recruit.
Here at Apollo Arts, 8 p.m. This is the site. Ballet Gala at the Theatron coming July 30th and 31st, 8 p.m. In case anybody's interested, you can go check that out for tickets.
Sounds fancy.
Fancy. Bougie. I thought this was interesting. Even this logo, I thought was just like, okay. Got the ram head, ram side, whatever the fucking thing's on the side. To
horns.
me, that bottom part, I mean, that looks, it's funny how the last time we did an intro like that, it was for the carnival, and I made a remark about the guy sticking out his tongue, and now the next one is actually the same fucking thing, really. To me, that looks like a tongue sticking out at the bottom, actually. As weird as that sounds, but I think it looks like a tongue. And again, that kind of goes back to like, isn't that Kali who does that?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
The Hindu god,
Yeah.
Kali, the goddess of war, I believe it is.
Yeah. She's not a good chick. Not a nice woman. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, even this, I think, is just, a little questionable. The Summer Festival, they have a program. They got a ballet, July 30th and 31st, or August 6th or 7th, 8 p.m. at the Theatron. They have tickets, and this I thought was interesting. They have like different memberships that you can pay for. I'm gonna go through them. Cinderella, they have August 20th and 21st, and solo piano concert August 27th and 28th. So let everybody know. Cello and piano concert September 3rd and 4th, or 10th and 11th. What does this look like to you?
Angel of Moroni.
Bam!
That's exactly what it looks like.
There he is. There's Moroni. And here's their fucking... I don't know what the fuck that is.
Probably it's just...
Maybe that's Burton's rusty trombone.
It could be. It doesn't look like it's been polished in a while.
A little rusty.
Yeah.
I just said that. Oh, my God. All right. So, this, I mean... Yeah, I think these two, it's a little weird. Sweet love remembered, such wealth brings, that then I scorned to change my state with kings. William Shakespeare, Sonnet 29. So they liked him some William Shakespeare as well. It was the membership thing. I thought this was a little interesting. I couldn't get the whole pick in, but it's a majority of it. Just, weird. I guess it kind of looks a little religious. But.
Well, you have the same trumpet symbology down there to
Yeah.
the left-hand side.
You got the star, which, that looks like it's probably an 8-pointed star. Even those things around their heads.
Yeah, each one of those are different halos, but they look like they have symbols.
That's
in
what I
those
thought too,
halos.
right? Yeah.
Can't
Little
tell because it's
sigils
more
in
of like
there.
a low-res picture, but...
So we got that. Then, now here we are at the packages. Oh, they got $750 to $3,000 annual contribution. Contribution will get you the diamond package. A diamond member. At $400 to $600, you can become a ruby member. $240 to $360, you can become an emerald member. And then $60 to $120, sapphire. So I'm sure it's making money. Guest artists. In case anybody happens to know who any of these people are, it's up on the screen. I don't know who any of these people are. To tell you the truth, most of them, you look at these names, I'm sure probably 90% of them aren't from this country. Mosina, Maria Mosina, Gennady. I don't even know how to say these names. They look like, who knows? Music, Ajax Quartet, Sydney Harth, Zara Nasova, a whole bunch of other names I can't pronounce. Apollo Arts is a not-for-profit organization dedicated to creating classical artistic experiences through ballet, music, and theater performance. Nestled in the beautiful Sierra foothills of Northern California, we offer every year a season full of prestigious artistic events. In the many years of our history, we have had the honor of hosting world-class ballet dancers such as Diana Vishneva, Maria Alexandrova, Igor Zelinsky, Nikolai, not even trying that one, Farouk Razmatov. Farouk. What is that, the fucking guy from BattleBots? Isn't that the guy, the announcer's name from BattleBots, Farouk?
I think
I'm
so.
probably the only person who still watches it, so I'm not expecting. It was one of my guilty secrets is I still actually like to watch BattleBots. Well, I'll tell you, man, and it's even a thing. One day, that and wrestling. I really think we need to cover this. I'm sorry, there's tons of that shit in that stuff as well.
Definitely, dude.
Yeah, I really
that and wrestling for sure.
Yeah. All right, so Farouk or whatever, from the Bolshoi and Mariinsky theaters and from the best U.S. ballet companies, legendary prima ballerina Natalia Makarov has visited us, gracing our audiences and enjoying our ballet gala performances. We have also hosted renowned guest musicians such as Menahem Pressler and his famous Beaux Arts Trio. So, I mean, I don't know who these people are, but I mean, maybe their names. And if so, I mean, some of them I did look up and, like, you can find them. So, I mean, they are known for doing what they do. I just don't know how, like, sought after they are. But for all I know, I mean, these could be respectable people that are going here from other countries.
And that's
no fucking idea.
Kind of the feeling that I got with the whole thing. It's like, you know, ballet is, sure, there's a lot of people who do ballet, but at that top level, I'm sure there's only, you know, so many names when you're getting to that professional level. So they probably are pretty well known. And of course, ballet is way more prominent in Europe than it is here in the US. So
maybe it's like, I'm surprised they didn't have, what's his name? Nick Nightingale on there. The guy from Eyes Wide Shut. Maybe that's what they do. Maybe these people are performing there and they got blindfolds on. They don't even realize the weirdos they're playing for.
Mm-hmm.
That guy was playing, if I remember correctly, that was Tom Cruise's buddy that played at the fucking place with his, like, you know, whatever, blindfolded.
Yeah.
It's
like the guy you ran into.
Yes. We invite you to join us in celebrating the best and most elevating artistic experiences. Please visit our website regularly to follow our artistic program and yearly calendar of events and plan a visit to one of our outstanding performances. And here are just some pictures from the site. There you got Robert Burton, of course, not too far away from him. A dude with no shirt on. All by design, I'm sure. Apollo Performing Arts began in the early 70s on beautiful grounds in the Sierra foothills of Northern California, and from the very beginning gained a strong artistic momentum. Even before our first official concert hall was built, a concert series was attracting every week professional artists from the Bay Area and Los Angeles. Our initial chamber concert series lasted 4 years, and concerts eventually moved to the newly built festival hall, offering classical music to our audience every week. By the 80s, Apollo Arts had grown into a more solid art organization with the arrival of European-trained conductor Michael Goodwin. So I'll go back to him, Michael Goodwin. Apollo Arts widened in scope and developed into different branches: Apollo Orchestra and Chorus, and Apollo Theater and Apollo Opera. Apollo Theater has presented through the years a wide array of the most outstanding theatrical plays from the Greeks to Shakespeare. Yeah, make sure you mention
Always the Shakespeare stuff that comes up.
Here is another one. If you guys, whoever's watching, wants to look at this, you can try reading these names. I mean, I'll say there's the Magic Flute in there, Verdi's opera Rigoletto. Again, Madame Butterfly, La Boheme. I don't even know if I'm saying these things right. It's a whole bunch of, like, supposedly well-known operas or whatever that have been done there.
I bet Burton loves the one about the magical flute.
That's when he pulls out the fucking rusty trombone. You want to play on that? Check out this. Michael Goodwin served Apollo Arts relentlessly for 40 years, raising it to what it is today. And his untimely death in 2010 was a deep loss for our community. Our indoor concert venue, the Apollo Festival Hall, has been dedicated to his loving memory. From 2003 to 2008, Apollo Arts has offered its audience long seasons of enchanting outdoor ballet performances, each year from May to September. So I guess they do them like outside, and I do have pictures of their stuff from inside and outside. Just happens to be a statue that, you know, that's in part of it. Just thought that was interesting. Mm-hmm. Fucking balls out. This guy's was that cape on too? Maybe, I don't know.
He did so much of that kind of stuff, collecting these, you know, important, whether it be
Oh,
like
that probably
Chinese
actually-
furniture and all that. Like,
I didn't even think, honestly, that's probably Apollo, actually, thinking about it, because he is,
yeah,
he is,
probably is.
yeah, he is younger. So,
Mm-hmm.
This is part of the outside. It's pretty fucking, I mean, it's like fucking Jones Beach.
Yeah, that's a pretty big amphitheater.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Look, they got lights all around the back end there. So I mean, yeah, they definitely have money. That doesn't. It's not very cheap.
No, this doesn't fall out of nowhere.
Is this on the property?
Yes. It's Apollo Arts. This is the stage for the outside. I think I might go back to some of these, better pictures of it. But this is the stage. And then again, like, looks like that same logo that I was showing at the beginning. Is that top of, like, I guess the middle of this piece. The middle of the pillars. Maybe that's cancer.
Yeah, you know what, too? A lot of these pictures that we've looked at remind me of Kronos. Just like the images that you showed just remind me of that. I don't know if it takes, it's like similar in any way, but it's just the first thing that comes up in my mind.
No, I thought that when I first came in, I first saw this stuff myself. Yeah. This is the Apollo Festival Hall. So this is, another area where stuff can be done. The inside of the cafe. It reminds me a lot of, believe it or not, and I'm sure it has nothing to do with Twin Peaks. It's just my brain, and that's how it works. I think, like, out of in the missing pieces, Donald Jeffries, they took a part out where he goes to some place, and it almost kind of reminds me of this. And then I think he gets, like, struck by lightning and disappears or some weird shit.
It's so weird that you just said that, because as soon as you showed me this picture, that's what popped into my mind. And then when you brought up the Twin Peaks stuff, is like I was about to say it about the Twin Peaks.
Yeah, it's a part with David Bowie too. That's actually playing
it
Donald Jeffries.
Reminds me very similar. Of course, it might be just a coincidence, but it's the first thing that popped into my mind too.
You got nice, cute little place, I guess. Some of the pictures they have on their site. We go here some more. Silver Penguin. We got something up there. Is that the Queen of Hearts, maybe? No, Spades. Who the fuck knows? Again, here's the amphitheater again outside. This is a picture not on the site all by itself. Here's with some people in there. Get, I guess, a better idea of how big it is. I mean, that's not I wouldn't consider that small.
No,
I mean, that's impressive. I mean, if you look down here, how small this person's head is, considering the stage. I mean,
right. They definitely weren't strapped for cash. I mean, to do all of this takes a lot of money.
Well, look at this. We got fucking some Egyptian stuff going on over here.
You got the two pillars.
Yeah.
Female and male, left and right.
Yep. Yeah, and even on the right sides, too.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. You know, it's funny. I didn't even notice that when I took the screenshot. I was more worried about the Egyptian shit. Didn't even realize that there was a man and a female.
Yeah, it's more like, I would say, kind of Greek
Yeah.
architecture and stuff like that. But yeah, it's very similar.
Then again, here's the inside. Gold eagle up there. Yeah, you got some weird shit in here. Looks like the chariot, maybe, again, up in the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on.
And the reason why they're incorporating all of this stuff is because when we, when you look at the heart of what Burton was trying to claim that he was teaching, which he really wasn't, obviously, because his own behavior didn't align with the teachings that he claimed, obviously. But, it's all about occultism. The belief system of Burton and Fellowship of Friends is based totally around occultism because it's based on Gurdjieff's teachings, which takes a lot of different aspects of occultism in order to build the idea around the belief system. So
this is, like I said, I think before, like a perfect example. Like, let's say, talk about occultism and magic in a positive sense. You're going to have to, start figuring out what the fuck's going on up inside of your head. Start looking at your fears, your insecurities, all that crap, guilt, shame. Why you like that, this and that. I think, like, when you're doing all that and you see how things have affected you and how you've been, I guess, manipulated in some ways or whatever, like how you allowed yourself to get to that, you then can see, all right, well, since that's how it worked on me or that's how it happened to me, and I fell for it, I know how to do it to another person now. You know, and you know, and you know what I'm getting at, look. So it's like you could have done the work and then like had this experience, but then like turned into a piece of shit, and now you're taking that, and instead of as it being a way to release the handcuffs and take the handcuffs off, you're kind of like how I felt about the OTO going there. They're giving you the image and handing you this shit to throw the handcuffs on.
Yep.
And they know what the handcuffs are because they found out what the handcuffs are doing their own work on themselves. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. You don't even know the handcuffs are there until you start doing the great work.
And so, you know, when you go to the Fellowship of Friends, like, so much of the information comes from the top down. You hear countless different stories of people who used to be in Fellowship of Friends. And they say, you know, all of this rules, all of these beliefs were from the top down from Burton. And that's a very dangerous system because obviously he's using this information to manipulate everyone who's around him because he understands occult principles, and then he's telling you what to believe and how to believe it, which we have no idea. You know, the members of the cult, they have no idea if it's right or wrong. They're just expecting that this guy's telling them the truth. And that's how this manipulation happens.
And the crazy thing is that it's been around long enough to where I'm sure you also have to start thinking when people are born into these things, they will have no other thing to reference to. They're just brought up and think that this is life.
Right.
So, I mean, that's like even worse. Like for the kids born into these things, they think it's normal because everybody else is doing it.
Right.
All right. I got Michael Goodwin here. I mentioned it before. Guys probably forgot already because I went on so long about everything else. Michael Goodwin, Michael Goodwin, musical director, 1995 to 2012. The Auburn Symphony is being increasingly recognized as among the best community orchestras in the United States. Much of the credit for this is due to Michael Goodwin, who has directed the orchestra since 1995. Hailed as a musician of strength and sensibility and praised for his felt-to-the-bone interpretations of the central works of the orchestral repertoire, Goodwin has relentlessly striven to develop the orchestra to its highest potential. Leading performance, which invariably draw standing ovations from the enthusiastic, loyal, and ever-growing audience. Mentions that he was in California, blah, blah, blah. Michael Goodwin was born in London in 1946. He began piano lessons at age 6 and also learned flute and cello. He gained the degrees of Bachelor of Arts Music at Leeds University and Master of Arts in Music with distinction at California State University in Chico, where his principal study was Renaissance and Baroque performance practice. He studied conducting at the Guildhall School of Music, London, the Mozarteum Summer Academy, and the London Opera Centre, where he also trained as I don't even know how to say that. Yeah, so I mean, this guy's done a lot.
Oh, so he's like a maestro. He's like a conductor.
Oh, that's what I was saying, maestro.
Yeah, conductor of like of a orchestra.
Attracted by a unique philosophy known as the Fourth Way, Michael Goodwin accepted an invitation in 1981 to build the Apollo Orchestra and Chorus for a private organization in California. He continues to direct these ensembles in repertoire, ranging from Baroque masterpieces by Purcell, Handel, and Bach to romantic works of the 20th century. An esteemed concerto accompanist, Goodwin has attracted soloists to this orchestra of the caliber of pianist Menahem Pressler, I said that before, Zara, and all these other people, whatever. He's also a music director of Apollo Opera, with which he has conducted a series of acclaimed full productions of grand operas, including Carmen, Faust, Don Giovanni, Madame Butterfly, and Rigoletto. So, I mean, this is even saying that he's associated with that place. I found this interesting. I found this trying to dig through stuff in Internet Archive. Don't know if it's real, don't know if it's fake, whatever. But I saved it, and I thought it was interesting, and it went back to stuff that Lux had also brought up. So I thought this was worth at least mentioning. Fellowship of Friends, February 7th, 1980. Dear friends, the Fellowship's orchestra octave is proceeding well. Several members from each center are now studying a musical instrument. Because it is difficult to get a feel of the scope of the octave, I have decided to send out a list of those persons currently involved with the octave. As you may immediately notice, this octave is large. Some persons who have had several years' experience with an instrument and have yet to commit themselves to the octave have been listed anyway. If these people truly are unable to resume lessons and practice, they will please write me a personal letter. Our school is successful precisely because it is ours. We must use every resource available to us if we are to fulfill the grand aim that the gods have established for us. Also included with this letter is a copy of a section from a private letter sent to me by Michael Goodwin, the Fellowship's professional conductor currently residing within Germany. I feel it will serve as a source of inspiration for our budding musicians. We must realize that a time will come when we will no longer have musical cassettes and stereos to play. How shall we be nourished if not by our own efforts? A musical instrument is both a private and a public experience, bringing joy to those that play as well as those that listen. The necessity of practicing every day is so similar to the efforts we must make to self-remember that two endeavors can spur each other on. I just fucked that all up, or it just doesn't make sense to me. If I have overlooked anyone, please write to me. And then it says, it quotes Benjamin Franklin, little strokes fell great oaks. And then signed by, I don't know who the fuck that is. Thank you again for our participation. Fellowship of Friends, blah, blah, blah.
The more that we've covered this, the picture has become very clear that this whole thing, in my opinion, is just for the entertainment of Burton. Right? It's not actually about teaching people true meaning of occult knowledge or breaking it down in a way that could be applied to their life, right? This is just one big play for him. And he's using the knowledge to manipulate people, putting on all these different plays, different symphonies and stuff, but it's all for him.
Our school is successful precisely because it is ours. We must use every resource available to us if we are to fulfill the grand aim that the gods have established for us. I just had to read that one again. But yeah, I totally agree. You know what the thing is, and I didn't include it because like some stuff I just don't know how truthful it is. But like I did come across, I think something was almost like a schedule of like what the day was. Me and you could look at it and be like, all right, well, this is like type of stuff that we would do when we were learning magic. But I'm sure he's not telling them that. He's just like, oh yeah, meditate or sit here and do this or go and do that. These people don't like it. They're doing shit and have no idea why they're doing it. I guarantee it. Like he's taking practices and making people do it to manipulate them. And like you said, this is all for his own shits and giggles, his own kicks. Or, I mean, I have even questioned, who's to say this guy isn't like fucking MK Ultra himself? How do we know somebody from the fucking university isn't involved above him behind all this? And he's just like a warped guinea pig that's just doing what they're telling him to do.
I've even thought about the fact that maybe why, like, let's say he is a guinea pig to put this stuff out in a warped way, could be so that the works of Gurdjieff and P.D. Opinski get a bad name because it's like as soon as you hear about them, it's like, oh, well, that's associated to Burton. So never look into Gurdjieff and Opinski's work because it's the same as Burton's, but it's not. It's just it's like an upside down version of the work of Gurdjieff and Opinski, and he's using it for his own means. So I've even thought about that. Like maybe it's to keep the public off of that information.
I also have this now It's just two things that I wanted to go over. I'll just read it a little bit. And again, this is something that I wasn't sure. Like, you know, I looked into it, and it was kind of hard to find a lot of stuff about it. But there was supposedly this thing called Via del Sol Journal that was kind of like a letter, that thing that he was like sending out to people. If this is it, it is. I mean, it gets very weird. Meeting Saturday, October 16th. The movie Gold Rush Days with Charlie Chaplin was played as an exercise to control laughter. The control of laughter was good. The movie had humor from one angle of thought. Student, it also seemed to be sad in parts. That is right. It is life. One of my students once said that I am like Charlie Chaplin. Please try to use my name as little as possible. I don't like to hear it. It is not me. Then in Mexico, there will be a trip to Mexico, probably in February. There will be two levels, abundant and frugal, mostly frugal. It will be fun for all and good for impressions. How much will it cost? In general, we will travel as economically as possible. He ends up saying about $250. Influence. Students were asked how many have verified that C influence is a reality. Several hands raised. Help from C influence is given in the amount it is appreciated and valued. Just about all the people who raised their hands are on the way. Some are on the way who did not raise their hands. Everything here is faded. My words are never my own. Even now, C influence controls all of us to wake us up. When you are less extreme, less happy, and less sad, more mellow, more 40 or 50, or number 4 and 5, less identified, then you are on the way. I mean, that was just fucking some weird shit.
Yeah.
They go on about a farm. Some other weird shit. Again, like I said, I don't know if this stuff is true. This one I can't really read that well, but here is just another picture via Del Sol Journal. Supposedly, like I said, these were something that Burton was like making and sending out.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking weird and creepy. So now we'll get to we'll do Kelly Services first. I don't know if you guys remembered in the was it the last series, and probably I think we might have mentioned him in both episodes actually. There was a Kelly and a ASG that was responsible for like kind of like fast tracking these people into Google. Fellowship of Friends, this is even just off their own site. In 2022, a lawsuit was filed against Google and its staffing firm, Advanced Systems Group ASG, which alleges that Fellowship of Friends members used the contracting agency as an easier way to hire others from the same group without the normal scrutiny applied to full-time Google hires. In the suit, Kevin Lloyd, a former Google video producer, alleges he was fired because he complained about the influence of the religious group in his business unit. The suit alleges that Google Developer Studio, GDS, which makes videos promoting the company's products, is run by Peter Lubers, a Fellowship of Friends member. He used his position to hire many members of the group and their relatives. Blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, that's just a reminder. Kelly Services, Inc., Russell Kelly Office Service, and Kelly Girl Service, Inc. is an American office staffing company that operates globally. The company places employees at all levels in various sectors, including financial services, information technology, and law. So that's just a little bit about them. I'm going to go on too much about it. This is the site. Kelly, we want brighter futures for you all, for all. They have Kelly Science, Engineering, and Technology, Kelly Education, Professional, Industrial, blah, 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 International, Government Solutions. And then when you throw them in Bizopedia, what would you know? Kelly Services, CG. Yeah, I think there's probably about one in almost every fucking state, and it's CT Corp almost all the way. I think you might, you have the Corporation Trust Company, CT Corporation System. Corporation Company again, CT Corp, CT Corp, CT Corp, CT Corp, CT Corp.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck ton of them, dude.
And the
All
corporation
CT.
trust is just another name for CT, I think.
Yeah, now for people who didn't hear us, I think it might have been like the first time we came across them. I think you did actually cover, because you dug into that, like a lot of those kind of almost like do circles with each other. Like this one owns that one, but then that person owns it. It's like really weird.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, but there was like
the
connections
order of the
between
way it
two.
goes.
Yeah.
But if you look up from memory, I think if you look up CT Corporation and you look at their representative, it's someone from like the United States Corporation Company, and then if you look who that company's agent is, it's CT. So it's just like this big revolving door of
Yes.
these different organizations or registered agents all representing each other. Mm-hmm. And for listeners, if anybody's out there, because we've asked this question multiple times, we're trying to figure it out. If you have knowledge about what that could be with registered agents like CT, or what it might mean with the United States Corporation Service Company or stuff that we showed, let us know, because I'm genuinely curious. I just don't see how it being any other thing besides nefarious, but it could be just be a random organization that just is so huge that the reason why we keep coming across the CT stuff is because CT is so huge, but I doubt that. So
yeah, ASG, this is the company. I forgot exactly whose name it was, but I mean there is a bunch of ASGs. But somewhere in all that stuff, I think it mentioned someone's name, and I Googled it together with ASG, and that's how I found out this is the correct site. Video Advanced System Group's Dave Van Hoy addresses fate of at-home workflows in post-coronavirus world. So that's, yeah, it was Dave Van Hoy. That's how I realized that this is the right company. Again, ASG President Dave Van Hoy. That's the right place. So, yeah, the Advanced Data Systems Group. Registered agent, that's an Amy Zeno, and a David Van Hoy, and that's in California as well. So yeah, it has David Van Hoy for ASG, and then there's a David Van Hoy for Ultimate Expeditions, Mountain Northwest Guides. Ultimate Expedition, Mountain Northwest Guides. It's Washington. It shows Bernardin, whatever Van Hoy, Greg Van Hoy, David Van Hoy, and Malasane Van Hoy. Back to ASG. Advanced System Groups, LLC, was established in 1997 to support the budding DVD authoring marketplace. Within a few years, we grew into a full-service production and post-production value-added reseller, VAR. Today, ASG is one of the nation's largest installers of production, post-production, and shared storage systems. ASG provides engineering, systems integration, training, and support to the media, broadcast, film, and corporate video markets. So, again, like there was even something else that we covered. They're very much like it also into technology. I noticed.
Well, and there was some stuff that I had seen that looked very, like when you look at the technology partners, I don't know, there was just fishy stuff there. Yeah, it's it's more than just a lighting and sound system company, in my opinion, but they're also the guys that did run all the sound for the Oregon House. So they openly admit that they're the ones who installed all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think it's more than just the sound systems and lighting systems.
Here it even says software development. DiaQuest Products LLC is a wholly owned subsidiary of ASG that develops software for the film, video, and broadcast industries, as well as custom and OEM software solutions. Learn more at www.diaquest.com. And then at the bottom it says headquartered in Emeryville, California. ASG maintains offices in Southern California, Pacific Northwest, New York City. So they got a couple places. DiaQuest. DiaQuest has been a provider of software in the video, film, and broadcast industries for over 25 years and has provided mission-critical software to vendors including AJA, Adobe, Optibase, and Autodesk. So, again, just more fucking technology shit. Now here is his brother, I think, Craig Van Hoy. Craig currently has over 400 summits of Mount Rainier by 19 different routes and still holds several records and first ascents. His brother that has that climbing thing is supposedly, I guess, a well-known mountain climber.
Mm-hmm.
He's like Crowley or something over here. 473 summits of Rainier by 19 routes, fourth most on record. Record speed climb of Rainier in 1981 and 1983. 3 expeditions to Mount Vincent. 33 expeditions to somewhere in Argentina. 8 expeditions to Bolivia. 4 expeditions to Ecuador. Blah, blah, blah. So that was just a little bit about ASG. And I mean, the Kelly services, I mean, that was interesting going back to CT Corp. Unfortunately, ASG did not, but it's definitely shady, I think, if CT Corp pops up.
Well, yeah, because ASG is tied into the whole Google stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously that they were staffing Fellowship of Friend members, so.
Yeah. So it's interesting to know that's like, does ASG have those members already as well? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Because it is also in California, so.
Mm-hmm. I'll go ahead and pull up what I have.
Pull it out. Burton's waiting. Continue, sir.
So, this was a slide that I had found. So this is at the stage that you had just shown. And I guess this is part of some ceremony that they're doing, or Russian members having their picture taken with Robert Burton. But, what I found, of course, weird about the whole scene here is that you have the Eye of Horus at the top and
checkered
also
floor, look at that.
And the checkered floor. That's what immediately made me think that this was something more than just like, the Eye of Horus. Obviously, to me, this looks more like a Masonic connection. But yeah, again, same symbology that we've seen other places. You have the 2 pillars and then the middle pillar, which to me, I think that this is representing probably, Kether.
Yeah.
And so you have the right-hand pillar, the left-hand pillar. I can't see this because I thought if this, when it's unveiled, like, is that actually a feminine figure? Because that would line right up with the left-hand side of the Tree of Life. And then on the right-hand side, you have the male figure. Then the center would be the middle pillar.
Yeah. I've noticed, too, the fucking flags. Or whatever those things are. You got the blue and the fucking yellow or gold-looking thing again. I mean, we've been seeing that a lot lately.
Mm-hmm. That's why I thought it was the middle pillar. Because Kether would be represented by gold, right?
Yes.
So...
Very good point. Yeah, that makes sense. I think all those people at the bottom are the ones that he got in with. He got their visas for.
Right. Well, that's what he says, like at the bottom there, that it's taken with all of his Russian members.
Yeah, those are all the ones that slept their way into the country.
Well, and so at the very top of this slide, we see the voucher system. We haven't talked about it too much on the podcast so far, but for listeners, essentially, the voucher system was something that Burton had done in the later years of the Fellowship of Friends, so that you could do work, right? Do these different things, whether it be spreading the message of FOF, handing out pamphlets or chores around the different locations that they had, jobs, that you would receive a voucher. And if you had enough vouchers, then monthly you could kind of cash in those vouchers like Chuck E. Cheese tickets. And you could...
It's like that. You get the ball in the fucking hole or the playing hoops and shit. You get those little fucking tickets that come out of the machines.
Exactly. And
going to Dave
the
and
reward
Buster's
for this was to be able to hang out with Burton.
Oh, Jesus
So
Christ.
very weird stuff. And
he's got people earning tickets to get fucking sexually fucked up. That's insane.
Yeah. And it even went through this process of where if you had so many different tickets or vouchers that you didn't have to stand at a meeting or like a ceremony, that you could sit. So literally there was a difference between how many vouchers that you had if you could sit at the meeting or if you had to stand for the entire time. Like, imagine how crazy that would be. Some of these lasted for hours and hours, and if you didn't have enough tickets, then you didn't get a seat. So just weird stuff. Something I found, so checking out all of the Fellowship of Friends stuff, something that popped up with Internet Archive is that when you type in Fellowship of Friends or Burton, this website comes up. So it's b.period.com. Well, I thought, well, maybe it's just a coincidence. Maybe they mention him on the website, but it doesn't have anything to do with Burton or the Fellowship of Friends. So I looked into it a little bit more. So the b.period.com, this is talking about online workshops and how it's available in English, Spanish, and of course, Russian. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird. So maybe it could be related. So it says here, quote, Labors of the Month. We follow a structured teaching called the Labor of the Month. A parallel is drawn between farming and cultivation of consciousness. As a farmer attends to different aspects of their land each month, so do we attend to different aspects of our psychology. This offers a unified structure for all students while enabling enough flexibility for each to focus on their specific challenge or need. Over on the right-hand side here, it says that B Period gathers internationally twice a year for week-long meetings in destinations that harbor traces of ancient knowledge. During the days of these gatherings, we tour the sites, and students also get to know each other better. In the evening and nights, we incorporate our findings into a theatrical play. In this way, we step beyond our passive spectators and actively attempt to experience how past teachings were used to cultivate consciousness in their participants.
And I know he doesn't use that phrase, something about it's all play too, or some shit like that.
Yeah, and again, more of the Shakespeare stuff that you had already talked about. We already know that looking into other orders, how important Shakespeare and this idea of the play is, and theater. Because basically it's trying to communicate that the whole world is a stage and that all of this is more or less a game or a play.
Fucking Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm. Right here, it says, I would spend the next 2 years scouring the museums and monuments of the world and find the same unorthodox meaning everywhere. Egypt, Greece, Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, all taught a lesson essentially the same rendered different by the veil of religious misinterpretation. Indeed, the deepest questions of life have been answered in past ages and answered well. Why not regard these truths hidden in such plain sight? There had to be others that would be touched by them as I was. So along with my exploration grew a sense of responsibility that urged me to record my findings methodically. The end and crowning episode of the travels was the revelation of a calendarial system that lay at the base of ancient teachings. This would become the foundation of B Period. So it's essentially this online school that it's like if you can't attend the Fellowship of Friends in person, then they have an online school for it too. Now, all this stuff, that we see, Egypt, Greece, Hinduism, Buddhism, we see that in tons of other occult orders. But we have to view it through the lens of these guys. Burton and his underlings are manipulating all this information. So what is it that these students or online, enrollees, what are they being told? And how is it being shifted through a lens of Burton and how he's manipulating all this occult knowledge? Now, again, I didn't even know necessarily if B Period tacked down, couldn't really say that it was absolutely Fellowship of Friends. Then I came across this. So, Azof Braverman is the founder, right down here, it says he is the founder of B period. Whole reason he tried to find a deeper meaning in life. So if you look into Braverman, I can't find the slide right. Fuck. 1 second. Fuck, it skipped us. I don't know where the fucking slide is. But pretty much what it boils down to is that this guy, the Azov Braverman, that he's a Fellowship of Friends member. But this guy was pretty much, he's a member of Fellowship of Friends that started the online school.
All right, we can just take your word for it. That's not a problem.
If I can find it, then I'll send it over to you. But anyway.
Okay, yeah, that works too.
Yeah, next thing that I wanted to go ahead and cover was this interesting article. This was, or a document. This was really hard to find. It had been talked about a lot online. I've seen it in blogs. I've seen it in different articles that were written about Burton and Fellowship of Friends. But when you try to find the document, it's nearly impossible, but I was able to find a copy. So we're going to cover this in the sense that because of how difficult it was to find, I believe that this to be absolutely true, especially because it has redactions, right? And these seem to be photocopies, right? Like this was on a scanner. And so this was a letter, allegedly, that was from the lawyer, David Springfield, which we've already showed in past episodes, was the actual lawyer for attorney at law for Fellowship of Friends. So for someone to go through an elaborate hoax and to create a fake document, I really find that hard to believe. Yeah. I would rather, it makes more common sense to me that this is something that was online. They wanted to pull it off because it did get leaked into the public, and it gives an inside look into the Fellowship of Friends. So it says here, November 19th, 2007, to all board members of Fellowship of Friends Incorporated. Dear board members and redacted, I am not sending this letter because I am writing of these matters or because I want to repeat what has already been stated repeatedly by both Abraham and me. And remember, Abraham Goldman, remember we talked about him earlier. I think you brought him up in episode 2. This letter is written because of my professional obligations and my personal obligations to the school. My personal responsibilities require me to send this letter to confirm again that I will provide no further legal services to the Fellowship of Friends and have stopped working on all ongoing legal matters that I was involved with. This letter also advises you to immediately work with Abraham Goldman and other legal counsel to handle the legal work I was involved in to address other ongoing and upcoming legal matters that I will outline in this letter. The recent board activities have been covered in a number of letters and emails by Abraham and me. None of the communications were ever acknowledged or responded to by any board member. As you know, Abraham and I were instructed to stop all legal work. First, a directive was issued on November 3rd, 2007 via email on behalf of Redacted. Chairman of the board through Redacted. Vice chairman of the board without explanation, question, or discussion. My email and letter as of 2007 about this heavy-handed and improper direction were ignored by all members. In my opinion, serious crimes have likely been committed and are possibly continuing to be committed by current members of the board.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
This should be addressed immediately. As I wrote about before in my letter on November 6, 2007, the requirement of legal compliance and checks and balances within our organization, meaning FOF, need urgent attention. The board has been for some time but a passive rubber stamp without any active or meaningful oversight. This almost complete inaction may create the impression of Fellowships of Friends as a criminal organization that is functioning as the alter ego of Robert Burton, involved in a conspiracy to engage in financial,
tax and immigration fraud, but perhaps other illegal activities as well. Responding to a call from Mr. Redacted this morning, I gave him my impressions of yesterday. Board meeting Mr. Redacted suggested that I am confirming that I write a confirming letter and cover the ongoing legal work that you might all appreciate should definitely be addressed immediately. This list does not purport to cover all the areas that need immediate and significant work. You should immediately consult Abraham and all other lawyers for the fellowship. The legal work that I have been involved in covers the following areas. 1. Immigration. Ongoing assessment and evaluations of the needs and requirements of all our religious programs and individual status and possibly need to go back to the country of origins. I will notify Mr. Stolzman of the fact that I no longer am working with him on behalf of the fellowship and was working with a number of individual students who would call with questions in the last months. Financial compliance. This is critical and should be a top priority. You have knowingly allowed having a system in place where the CFO is made responsible but essentially helpless without authority. The CFO is not being consulted in important decisions. The fellowship financial activities, in my opinion, could be seen as a criminal conspiracy to commit tax fraud and private instrument benefiting Robert Burton and a number of other individuals, including possibly some other board members, and could be considered fraud by the government, since the status is a nonprofit corporation. Investigating and monitoring of blogs, GFPR. Several times this year, I have written to YouTube. This is so important, guys. Really focus in on this stuff because this is showing just how far FOF is really fucked up. Investigations, monitorings of blogs, GFFR. Several times this year, I have written to YouTube and other websites to have offending material taken offline. This has been largely successful. I also have conducted an investigation into aspects of the blog and some individuals with the aim to allow us to file a suit for defamation or invasion of privacy, if when appropriate. I have worked on obtaining PR consultants for which no funding was purportedly available. Redacted, who was helping in this area, was threatened by Redacted to stop working with Abraham and myself. This area should be a major concern for the board, which has already been totally unresponsive. In our diligent monitoring of the blog, that put us on notice that Redacted arranged by fellowship officers and other agents fraudulent marriages to Redacted was being exposed to the world. So they're talking about they're doing fraudulent marriages to keep certain people in the country who came from overseas. I will no longer monitor the blogs or any other sites in any language and will no longer assist with analysis and efforts to bring these matters into compliance. A lot more needs to be done in this area for any involved. Insurance. We are working on a review of all materials from the internet and other sources that could constitute a claim, including foreign websites. I wrote about this a while ago. Insurance could pay for some of the costs incurred, including legal cost. I will stop all work on the claim process, including my work on research into the bad faith claim aspects of insurance. Other matters. There are outstanding $1 million judgments from the Ming litigation area. So this is when they're talking about selling, when they claimed that FOF sold all of this different, ancient Chinese and Asian furniture and ornaments, things like that. That's what this is talking about. There's an outstanding $1 million judgment from the Ming litigation era that will need to be renewed in the next years. If the fellowship wants to collect on them, I had this calendared for a review in January 2008, 10 years after the first settlements and judgments were obtained. Given the success we have had collecting from the various parties, I would consider that an important item to follow up on is I will no longer take any action in this area.
I'm sure there's fuckery going on just with that shit anyway. Just neither to have value and not have actual cash. I'm sure Kind of like when a
Exactly.
person goes out and buys jewels or buys gold, you know what I'm saying? So they're not walking around with, $500,000 in cash. You got it in a couple of diamonds in your pocket,
Yeah,
Same
and we
thing with
talked
using
about that
art.
earlier in the podcast too. It's like,
Plus,
of
there's different
course-
laws when there's also sending art places too with the mail. It's like you can get away with like sending shit and it can't be open, it might get damaged.
Mm-hmm. So, like we pointed out, with a lot of these different groups, what they'll do is they'll buy things that have extravagant value, like paintings or furniture, but that's a way, like you said, for them to remain a nonprofit but still have a lot of assets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they messed with it in some way. Says, so much so that they had litigation against them. So. Finally, here it says, next I wrote to Redacted, who ignored my questions about what to do about the ongoing legal work, but was ignored. After learning about the secret board meeting and illegal vote that took place on November 10th, 2007, I talked with Redacted, the president, in person at her office, November 13th, 2007, confirmed that the secret board or secret vote of the board, although Redacted lied about when other crisis team members voted at the secret board meeting, and instructed me to suspend all my legal work. Essentially, what this guy's saying is that he was voted out. And now he's pissed and salty about it because he was working so hard for Fellowship of Friends, doing all this legal stuff, and he's got salty about it because in a secret meeting, they ended up voting him out of being part of the board. So on November 18th, 2007, I was voted off the board of directors, now no longer working as an attorney, nor being able to act as a member of the board. I will no longer be able to assist the fellowship with any legal work or offer any oversight. All this occurred after 1 week of false and contradictory statements by Redacted, and others about the secret board meeting where this was already decided in advance. Only Redacted acknowledged yesterday that the secret board meeting was improper and that he wished the matter would have been done openly and correctly. The failure by almost all the board members to ever have the decency or honesty to acknowledge a secret board meeting was held and a secret vote taken to vote off the lawyer of the board without any opportunity to address this issue by the persons involved is below the level of schoolwork for any student, let alone board members with the responsibility for our church. Redacted refusal to show the minutes of the secret board meeting and subsequent refusal to return many of my calls and emails is conduct that is highly irregular for the secretary of the corporation and the board of directors. To date, I have still not obtained a copy of the resolution of the board of directors that I personally saw both Redacted in heavy-handed fashion informed Abe and myself in 2007 when we were voted off of the board.
If that is true, this guy is there's actually there's a lot in there, but I think there's some very interesting. I think what was important that you even brought up too, and I think I had said it to you because it's funny how people listening, this isn't on YouTube, the second and third part. And I had even told Lux I really wasn't sure about putting it on YouTube because I had even heard that they go after people who post bad stuff up about them. Mm-hmm. So I was like, the podcast I'll probably get away with because there's already other ones out there starting to kind of cover this. But YouTube, you never know. So I was like, I'm not even going to try because if they come across it, I'm sure if they're still doing that stuff, we will get a strike or get banned and we'll come down. If they're really trying.
And if this document is true, again, I don't have any reason to doubt it. If it's true, they're talking openly in this document that his job as a lawyer was to contact YouTube and other different media sources to get all the controversy and bad information about Fellowship of Friends down. And we're even considering different legal actions like defamation. So, they were trolling all over the internet to make sure that people weren't talking about them in a negative light.
Yeah.
And the most explosive thing about this document to me is one, the corruption of Fellowship of Friends, that, you know, Burton allowed these people on the board that they're going to vote off their own lawyer. Like, what? Because the lawyer is asking questions about, hey, we need to get our taxes in order, and we need to make sure that we're not keeping people here illegally in the States by making these false marriages to keep them here. Like, that's explosive.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I like how he pretty much just came out and said that, like, that shit was going on.
yeah, like, hey, you need to get somebody else to handle this because I'm voted off the board, so I don't care
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah, no, but I mean, he basically did come out and say that. I mean, not so many words that, I mean, it seemed like there was some sort of shady shit with probably immigration, you know,
Mm-hmm.
bringing people
Essentially, what they were doing is they were like bringing people into the United States, from what I understand, and you know, they would get these guys to come over, mostly men, and then they would create a fake marriage. You know, legally it was true because they're fighting, but the people didn't actually have a real marriage. It was just on paper that they were married, and that way it allowed the Fellowship of Friends and Burton to keep people from overseas here, because with that marriage certificate, now you're here legally.
Definitely think there's something really up with all that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's crazy is you could be bringing like domestic terrorists over and you don't even like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Who the fuck knows?
And I guess essentially what happened is because of them bringing over so many people from Russia, stuff like that, that because Burton would take, you know, he took a liking to certain people, and then he would assign them higher positions like being part of the board. And then enough of this, it was like a sort of a coup within Fellowship of Friends at the board level meetings where the original members were all getting kicked out, and Burton was surrounding him with just yes men and people who he was having these sexual relationships with. And it's disgusting stuff to see. And this document, I think, points out some serious shit, and like he's had some balls to write it, man. So yeah, that's about
That's it.
about all I have.
okay.
So
Yes, that was a good way to end it, I think, too. Really, that lawyer note. You know, the one thing too is that I know we kind of talked about it before, but even with that Goldwyn guy, when they're talking about the octaves and stuff, that like reminds me and goes back to the music stuff that you mentioned before. Was that the first episode, right?
I think you mean this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe leave that there. I'll leave it on the screen. You know, just before with that whole thing with Michael Goodwin talking about the octaves and all the instruments, you know, I did also want to remind people we didn't really talk about it when we went over it, but you know, in the first episode they did talk about that whole octave thing, and again, that shit seemed it seems very weird, and I would think like I have tried to play, I guess, devil's advocate with this, and in my mind, if this was an actual musical thing, I guess practice, I would think it would say keys. So it's not even like I'm thinking, oh, well, maybe they're trying to just teach certain keys to the students to play in the key of, but like, why are they still calling it octaves? So I really do think this is some weird shit when it comes to what they're saying with octaves. I still think it might be something of just playing a certain sound that's fucking people's, you know, manipulating people or affecting them, and they don't even realize it.
Yeah, and you know, especially like if you do look at the work of Gurdjieff and Opinski, they know a lot about octaves and the power of certain tones or frequencies, and so they were more or less in those, you know, books or teachings. They were talking about how to utilize certain frequencies to help tune yourself into the higher self, or to align your chakras, stuff like that. And then Burton takes it, and who knows what he did with all that crazy all this crazy stuff that we see on screen, because he obviously knows about what Gurdjieff and Opinski were talking about, but he's using it, in my opinion, to manipulate people. You know, we've talked about that over and over again on the podcast about how important frequency, tone. We saw it all in the gateway documents. We see other stuff we've covered. So
I was just thinking that. I was like, I wonder if these octaves match anything that's in those gateway tapes. Very interesting. So I guess after 3 episodes of the Fellowship of Friends, they got shit wine. It tastes like bleach and Kool-Aid. Apollo Arts, this octave stuff, IT stuff, Google, Burton, a whole lot of weird shit. Really.
All the sexual abuse.
Yeah, the CT Corp coming up with the company that they're hiring with, I still think is just shady to begin with.
The connection to Google. I mean, what the fuck?
So, yeah. So, definitely, it was a fun series. It was different, you know. It was a nice break from heady shit, for sure. It was definitely interesting. And I do think it's just, you know, like, again, that we mentioned in the first episode and last episode that we did, you know, we aren't hearing much about this, you know, and I find it I don't know, were we supposed to watch Depp and Heard instead? You know?
Right. Like, this should be nationwide news. Everyone should be hearing about this. This is crazy.
Yeah. People still going on about Epstein and Maxwell.
Yeah.
The go eighth. Yeah. There's a lot of weird stuff with this. And, you know, the crazy thing is like, I'm starting to try to, like, I was trying to think, like, when did the gateway thing, or when did that start? I mean, that might have been in the 70s as well, wasn't it?
It was, and I was thinking the same thing as you.
Like, did all these things, like, pop up, and they're like, all right, we're just going to, you know, like, flip the switch and start, I don't know. Very weird.
It's the study of frequency, vibration, you know, gateway. Yeah, it's
and then look at Stranger Things. When does that take place? In, like, the 80s, right?
1980. Well, it had already been going on. If you
that's what I'm getting at. But when you see Stranger Things, you can see that they already know what they're doing at that point, which is quite possible. Then started in the 70s.
Right, because it picks up in, I think, 1983 or 84. And when you look at the show, they had already been doing the research for like a decade or something.
Yeah, which is very. Yeah, that is, I guess, that is the end of the Fellowship of Friends. That was episode 3. I think we might have some Kabbalah stuff coming next too. Just believe it or not, I guess in a sense is easy for us as well. But at least that's getting back into occultism. It's still kind of a little bit of a break for us, but yeah, we might have some of that coming soon and some other things that we have looked into and hopefully we'll get back to as well. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think there's anything
crazy series, man.
Yeah,
crazy series.
I enjoyed it. I definitely think it's interesting. Do we have anything? I don't think we really have anything to announce. No. The Tor and More still, as of right now, is still up. I would suggest to check that out. All our stuff goes there, unless it's like 2 cents, you know, like these last 2 episodes haven't. We might by now, if it's not out, we will have a thing in Element. That was like a server, I don't know, something that a bunch of fans and listeners built for us. It should be like Discord. If it's out by the time this gets dropped, you can check at the bottom, and it should be in the link tree. If not, stay tuned, and it should be out shortly. We might even try to get a hold of the people that made it for us and have them on and just even talk about it for a little bit. But it should work out pretty good. Multiple chat rooms for different type of things. There'll be other shows in there. It will pretty much look like Discord, but a little different. But in my opinion, also is not going to have the problems we had in the last one. I don't think people can just rat or you're going to get censored as much at all. So if you enjoyed the Discord, this should be just as good and even safer. So like I said, if it's out by now, then you've probably already heard it come out. And if you haven't heard it come out and it is out, check the thing in the link tree. And if the element's in there, then you know it's up and running. If not, stay tuned. And yeah, so that's really the only thing I guess new to that. And we might have some Kabbalah stuff coming.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess thank everybody who was listening to the series. There was probably some other things that we could have gone into, but I think it might have like almost like the Mormon series or whatever. Well, See, again, Skinwalker series that turned into a Mormon series. Might have gotten a little bit off the tracks. But, I mean, anybody finds any more of this stuff, I mean, or any interesting stuff, definitely comment it in the videos or send it over. Maybe I'll, like, tweet it out or post the stuff up. You know, anything to add to this that maybe we left out, you know, go for it. That'll be cool. And until the next one, thank you all for listening, and everybody be well. Later.